Rebecca, I got you back on. It's been a very long time. So I was just looking up before we hit record. Your first episode when you came on was episode 17. And that's when you shared your journey of getting out of the Amish culture. And you mentioned something about saving people from suicide and everything. So if anybody's listening or watching to this, they can go back to episode 17, learn more about Rebecca from back then. But now it's a new Rebecca. Like a lot of things changed, and I know you have a lot of stuff coming up. And you and I were able to get together again at another mastermind. It's funny how we keep running into each other. I ran back into you in March in Tennessee. So, I mean, that was awesome too. And yeah, so now, you mentioned a few things, and I'd like to open it up to you, and you can just let people know now, hey, this is who I am, this is where I'm at, and we can talk about what you created, when it's coming out, and all that good stuff. So please start off with who's Rebecca right now?
Yeah, so I am still the same Rebecca, but I'm not. I'm still Rebekah Hope. I am still a purpose-driven success coach, but I am coming back in a different way. A lot has changed in the last year where I have I've done a lot of inner work on figuring out exactly what it is that I want to do with the Divine Hope community. The Divine Hope community was started back right when we did that interview, which was, I think, February of 2023. So that's kind of when it started. And some things happened that caused a really big shift in my personal life that very much affected the Divine Hope community as well. But I am officially back, and I am back in a different way. My mission with the Divine Hope community will continue to expand, but as of right now, my ultimate mission with it is to help women process past traumas, to help them and empower them to step in their divine purpose. I am very, very passionate about helping women figure out who they are, why they're on this earth, and live a fulfilled life, the life that they were called to live, so they don't live their entire life feeling stuck and wondering why they're on this earth. And I mean, if you were to ask me to go one step deeper than that, it's ultimately to um, bring the suicide rate to zero, one life at a time. I I'm a two-time suicide survivor, and I have learned a lot in my journey where I am very confident that I would never feel the need to attempt that again as an escape. My belief is that um, anybody who attempts suicide they're not looking to actually take their life. They are looking to take the pain that they are feeling, and they're seeing death as the only escape for that. I can certainly say that's what it was for me. I have done a lot of, and even just, over the last almost 12 years now, it's been almost 12 years since I left the Amish, which is also really crazy. Time keeps going faster and faster, I feel like, which is also a reminder that how fleeting life is and how short our life on this earth is. We have today. We're not promised tomorrow. And the more we can live in the here and now, the more we can know that we are living in the purpose that we have been designed for, a fulfilled life today, what we have right now, instead of hoping for the tomorrow that we will never, that we're not promised. We don't know if we're going to get tomorrow or not. So all we got is today, and we should live in that um, to have the biggest impact that we can. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. It says being more present, right?
Yes.
Yes. Um,
Being more present, being more mindful, being more aware of what the energy you're giving out, the energy you are receiving. Like, why do you do what you do? That was my number one question when I left the Amish was, why do I do what I do? And my mission in finding an answer to that question has very much I've found it. I'm continue to discover more, but I feel like I found it.
Yeah, good. That's awesome. And I know you come a long way, and I could tell by the smile on your face today that you are happy to be where you are today and to, help others, other women, as you specifically pointed out, which is great because I know a lot of women help women, a lot of men help men, and then there's people in between. You did mention how people are taking their lives, and there's something I heard not too long ago that we fear to be alive more than we fear to die. And I see that now as, people commit suicide or whatever, they just, they can't go through the struggles. And as you know, I'm experiencing some stuff too. Uh, but it's like it's a quick way out instead of trying to get through the motion, right? So I rather just sit in the mud, as I would call it, and just roll around and see what sticks and what doesn't, and try to make things work. So the divine I'm sorry, the, divine can you explain what was it again? The divine hope?
The Divine
Uh,
Hope community.
yes, thank you. So divine hope is a community for helping women. Now, does that what women are you trying to look for or focus on? Ones that have relationship issues, or like maybe they don't know where they're going with their life and work, or is it like there's just two examples I can think off the top of my head, but what are the women you're looking to work with?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to say this is the woman that I help, it would be a woman in her 20s who has experienced trauma in her life that is keeping her stuck. She wants more. She wants to be healed. She wants to do more with her life, but she doesn't know how because she has never had the tools to process the traumas that happened to her. And traumas that can be of various types. It doesn't have to be domestic violence. It doesn't have to be, you know, certain types of abuse. A trauma can be simply losing somebody in your life. Um, so it can look different for everyone, but if it's keeping you stuck where you are and keeping you from living the life that you know you could, that's something we need to process. That's something we need to not get over, but to heal from so that we can make it part of our divine purpose instead of allowing it to keep us from living in that. So that's what I would say as far as who exactly am I looking to work with.
Yeah, and you mentioned in their 20s. Is there a reason why the 20s?
So again, I throw that out there because that is primarily the age group that I see that needs it the most. But that's not to say that I can't help anyone at any age because I certainly can. I've helped somebody who's been in their 70s and I've helped a 5-year-old. So I've very much, helped people of all ages. The reason I say the 20s is because, well, I am still a woman in my 20s for one more year. But also from what I have analyzed and researched, a woman in her 20s is one of the hardest periods of her life, transitioning from I'm now an adult on my own. Um, how do I navigate that? Most times, not all the time. I left when I was 17. I've been on my own since I was 17. So going from maybe being in college or living with your parents to getting out and being on your own, having your own job for the first time. But let's say you get your first job when you're 20. By the time you're 25, you might realize that this is not it, but you don't know what is it. And you don't know why you feel like it's a drag to go to work every day. Or maybe you started your own business and you have no clue what you're even doing or why you started the business. Um, it's I have certainly found 20s are a very challenging time in a person's life. And this isn't just for women, for men as well. They're very much navigating through that first season of being an adult, being on their own, and figuring out what exactly it is they are going to do with the rest of their life. There's this belief that once you hit 30, you better have it figured out. It's possible to have it figured out, but don't beat yourself up if you haven't, because it's very much, again, we have today. So let's do what we know today. If we find better, then let's do better. Um, and the guilt, it just never works. It's a vicious cycle of, well, I should have known, I should have done. It's a vicious cycle to keep us where we are instead of stepping into what it is we truly want and are truly designed for.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm 43. I'm getting to that point where I feel like where I know I'm going to go where I'm supposed to be. Right. So I would say back then I kind of thought what I was doing was where I was supposed to be. And looking back, it was at the moment, not for life. Right. And so with that being said, I have 2 kids too, and everybody's like pressuring, "Hey, when you want to be for the rest of your life?" Like I remember that as a kid. So I don't even ask that. I just ask, "Wait, what do you want to do?" Right?
Yeah.
And just not push like, really, because my son, he's going to be, well, he's learning to be like in plumbing and HVAC at the moment, but I don't know if it's going to last, right? So I'm not pushing. I'm just like, "Oh, do you like it? Do you like what you're learning and stuff like that?" So you have those moments in life where you're trying to figure things out, and then once you find out, hey, this is falling apart, then you feel like you're lost a little bit. You go along the way. Um, One thing I can think of too is like I want to consider myself in that gray area, and the gray area I'm referring to is like all my friends and stuff are here, and I'm still trying to find new friends stuff over here, right? So I'm kind of like in between. I'm finding them, right? And all these guys are like, whoa, like so far away. So it is that weird transition that some people have to make, and if but they had to make that transition, and I would say with somebody like you guiding them and helping and supporting them along that way gets into a better spot quicker. So, I mean, what kind of like a turnaround do you see for the women that you're helping?
I mean, I never give a time frame as far as how long this process is going to take because it's very unique to the individual. You reference you're 43 and you're figuring some things out. That is the perfect example of we have never truly figured it out. We just haven't. There are times in our life where we may have felt like this is it, like you referenced, but then life happened and you realized this was not it. Well, it was for that season, but it has changed. We as humans are continuously changing and evolving. And if we can embrace that change instead of resisting it, it will allow us to develop character and growth that we are meant for instead of constantly wanting to either go back to where we were or seek for something in the future that we'll never reach. So, back to your question, again, it is very unique to the individual. But I will say, give me 3 months of your undivided attention. We work together and we come up with a plan that's unique to you. Again, if you want to work slower, if you want to work faster, that is possible. It's up to you on how ready you are for a change in your life. And I can actually give you an example in my personal life. I also have a business coach, and I was on a call with him yesterday where he was telling me how I should do this so that I have faster growth. And I'm going, but I'm not ready for it. So you have to very much be ready for it. I know what I am ready for, and I know what I'm not ready for. So there are small steps that we can take that will lead up to the big change, the growth that you are looking for. But until then, like if you're not ready for it, there's things we can do until you are ready for that that will help you prepare. But if you are like ready and you're saying, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want change. I want to know why I do what I do so I can change it. Because that's the first step to change, is to understand change, to understand why do we do what we do and how can we change it. So you have to be ready for it. The level of readiness will determine how fast your growth is going to be, and the breakthroughs you're going to have. So
Yeah, it's all that comfort level, right? So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I had stuff coming up that I mentioned to you before, and it's nothing I've ever done before.
Yeah.
And now it's just like things coming my way, and I'm just like, why not? Let's just see what happens. So I just start saying yes, and because it's something totally different, and I feel like that's the breakthrough. I feel
Yeah.
like yeah. So, you coming on here, and I'm sure you're going to do a whole bunch more and whatever else you got coming up. Like, that's what you need. That's going to, yeah, it's going to accelerate yourself and your business and to help more and more women. And that's just going to grow from there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're able to come on and share whatever you can share with everybody now. But it is that comfort level. And so, like, even talking about the people that you're willing to help, like, they have to be ready to get out of their comfort level of where they are, right?
Yes. I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself. Because if I do, you're going to feel pressured. I don't pressure, I prompt. I prompt growth, I prompt change, and I encourage, but I will never pressure, because that gives, you will immediately go into resistance mode instead of embracing it. And a reference that I heard very recently that I love it, it sits with me really well, is getting to the courage line. So when we can get to the courage line of I'm comfortable being out of my comfort zone, that's when you will see the most growth, the most change, the most breakthrough, because you will realize that, well, I'm also not comfortable where I'm at right now. So choose your discomfort. If you're in a rut and you're sitting in your pain, that's not comfortable, it's familiar. So we seek familiarity over comfort. And when we can get to that courage line of, well, it's going to be uncomfortable either way, and I can create a new familiarity if I just embrace this, and I will actually be able to get rid of that pain and turn it into a purpose if I choose to do so. So that is what I help women with. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you find that it might be like a struggle because they are around other people that want to keep them in that, where they are today? Because it's their friends, their family or whatever, right? They want to help them, but they don't want to see them get better than them as the group in a sense.
Yeah. So the majority of women I help are no longer living with the parents, so they don't have that family dynamic, but you are very much an average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. I didn't come up with that. I'm trying to remember who did, but that's been a reference that's been around for a long time, and I have seen it stand very much true. You really are who you surround yourself with, and if the only people you're surrounding yourself with are more in a rut than you are, you're probably not going to get out of that. Um, I have learned that I need to surround myself with people who are at least one step ahead of me. Not so far that it's intimidating to me, that I feel like, well, I will never reach that level, therefore I'm not even going to try. It's one step ahead, knowing that this person has they have walked through this, but they're not that far away that they can't reach a hand back and help. They are still very much boots on the ground, as I like to say, on I know where you are. I know what that feels like. Let's do this together. And you have to be surrounded by people who want that change and growth as much as you do. I have created a community, or God really brought a community to me here locally that they're now, I mean, they're my cheerleading squad, you know. They're my people, they're my family. And when I'm down, they're there to lift me up. When one of them is down, we're there to lift them up and go, nope, like, it's okay to feel this way, but feelings are fleeting. They can change. So that's the good thing about feelings. So validate the feeling, but then go, I know you, and I know this is not it. It's okay to feel this way right now, but let me remind you who you are and what I've seen in you. It's going to get better. And surrounding yourself with people like that who have your back and you can call at 2 a.m. and they're going to come over if you need that. That is what you need. That is the community you're going to thrive in. And when I say one step ahead of you, I am very much not referring to financially. Actually, the complete opposite. It really doesn't matter how much money someone has in a bank if their intelligence level is 0, if their willingness to change is 0. I will work with somebody all day long if they're willing to change over, I got money, can I pay you to fix me? I can't fix you. I can't. You have to be willing to do the work that needs to be done in order to get out of that rut, process the pain that you are feeling. It's possible to get rid of it. It's possible to turn that into your purpose, and you're going to be even more passionate about what you do once you process that. And I can speak from experience on that. I've very much seen that. Maybe one day I will share my story publicly on over what happened over the last 4 years, essentially. But I have very much seen, I started this community. I knew what I wanted to do with it. And then some things happened in my personal life that very much tested and challenged that in every way possible, where I was questioning why I started, what, how dare I have a mission like this and think that people's lives are going to be changed when I was the person that needed that help. But I would say to that, the best thing that I did is I stepped aside and I took some time for Rebekah, and I allowed myself that space to heal and get the help that I needed so that I can bring that to other women in an even better way. So when I say I'm back in a different way, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, good for you. And so I challenge you and whoever is listening and watching this to go back maybe a couple minutes to what you just said, because everything you just said was what somebody told you and put a belief in you and for you being where you are today so that you're able to help these other women. Um, like I feel that I know that and I know who you are. So it's definitely there. And just to go back to the 5 people you're around, right? So I just wanted to share I had a coach back in the beginning of the year and he gave me like a target, so the the center of the target would be the 5 people or so that you want to be around the most. And then you have an outer circle from there and you keep on, and so those people might shift. And if you go ahead and you do that kind of exercise, you could say, okay, these got me to a certain point, but I don't see them get me further. So they back up a little bit on your target and then you bring in somebody else. So that's something to play around with. If you haven't done it yourself or others listening, it's definitely a great exercise to see who you're around the most, or even it could be just texting and talking to the most. Like that's enough to make you start to think things too. You don't have to be physically around them. And so, listening to podcasts and YouTube videos and all that stuff, what are you listening to the most? The same song over and over again. I mean, that's going to get in your head. Right. And, most of it's not good stuff. Yeah.
But that's actually the perfect example of Well, if you can listen to the wrong song and get it stuck in your head, you can also listen to the right song. That is how powerful our brains are. And we do the same thing over and over again. It'll get so stuck in our head that it actually becomes part of us because it goes from your head to your heart. It's in your memory now, and it's a part of who you are, and it just comes natural. So when we can recognize that that is how we are designed, we can also realize that how easy it is to change. Change is a lot easier than people want to make it out to be. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. But as I referenced before, it's also not comfortable where you're at right now if you are in pain and feeling stuck. Um, but something that I wanted to mention as far as like the 5 people in your life. So my mentor, it was almost a couple years ago, I think, was very much going through it, where she told me, she's like, think about it this way. When we say 5 people, we're holding up one hand. So that is the circle you have. You 5 people you hand select to be in your quote unquote inner circle, the people you are influenced by the most. The amount of people in this world, that is a very, very small percentage. 5 people. So not everyone qualifies to get in that inner circle. You get to choose who that is going to be. And as you referenced before, it can change. It's a constant, it's a revolving door in the sense that, hey, they can leave just as fast as they came in, but it's up to you to make sure that that door is opened and closed at the right time. Um, I very much had to exercise that and just go, you know what? It doesn't mean this person is a bad person, but they just no longer qualify to be in my inner circle because of the things that I've seen and the choices that I've personally made and what I want in my life. So those 5 people, they should very much be hand selected, and there should be a lot of thought around that on who that is. And we can maybe talk later more about um letting them in or not letting them, like what that looks like. How do we let somebody in or not let somebody in when maybe they're trying to force their way in, but you don't want them there. So I very much experienced that as well. And ultimately, it's up to you to decide who hold those 5 places in your life. So
You're right. And to add on to that, I think I have to align with some of your values and stuff too. Like they have to be somewhere in some kind of alignment with that. Um, as you learn, and as I'm sure as people work with you, they'll learn to how to. I want to say, not, I really don't want to use the word read people, but start pick up some behaviors and stuff that they're doing, and sometimes the things that they say, but more of what they do, and just see if that's the right action that you want to follow or be part of. Um, so that's another thing to I'm sure you help with that too when when you're helping these women out. But it's just one of those things that as you grow and get older and you want to go back and keep learning, that's something you can start to dive in a little bit and just sit back and just watch people. It's,
yeah.
it's
Oh,
it's a wonderful game.
yes, I think, John, I think me and you are very similar in this way. We like to sit and we're people watchers, but not in the sense of what's going on in this person's life. Like I'm not a mind reader. I will never pretend to be one, and I'm not I don't even know the words. Like I don't hypnotize people or anything like that. Okay, I'm not into that stuff. Um, I'm into empowering people to decide for themselves, take their power back when it comes to what they decide for their life. The reason people don't make those decisions and just go default on the loudest voice in their life at the moment is because they can't decide for themselves. They feel they've been trained to believe that their voice doesn't matter when it comes to this issue. And even if they tried to make the decision, they would probably make the wrong decision because of a pattern that they've developed based on the information they were given and how they were trained, how their brain has been programmed. So what I do is I help them change that. You can very much interrupt the patterns and um, change how you think, how you believe, and ultimately change your life just by doing that. But yeah, I love to observe people, but I'm not a mind reader. I'm very much studying why do people do what they do so that I can better help them. And yes, there are people out there who use that in the wrong way. They figure out why people do what they do so that they can take advantage of them. And if you look at my social media, I just posted the other day about taking advantage of the innocence of vulnerable people. Um, I I will always stand up against that. I will always stand up against that because yeah, it's not okay.
No, I agree. And I shared this with somebody, I think when we were at the mastermind. Um, I I I sit in this weird spot in my life, and you know, you're gonna get me here. So, I sit in this weird spot where, like, I run into people that have women that have been in abusive relationships, and I think to myself, like, what, I mean, I don't like that. Like that eats me up. Um, as me, as a person, as a man, I guess, in the right sense, I know it flips sometimes in other relationships, but I can't see that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, for another man to hit a woman or whatever else can escalate. So I sit in this weird position where, like, all I want to do is, like, I told this person, like, I kind of just like look at other men and kind of like, I just want to size them up. Right. And just, I don't care if they're bigger than me or whatever, but like, if it's something that I don't believe in, like something like that, like, forget it, man. Like, it's just like, I'm all in, like, I'm at that spot. Like, it's just weird. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I'm at that spot, and then it also leads into, like, if my daughter, she's 12, so it's like, yeah, I try to tell her, so what side does the man supposed to walk on the sidewalk? And she knows, but and she thinks it's funny, right? Until that point comes when she's with somebody, and it's just like, hey, you stand closer to the car, please. I can just see her already, right? So it's stuff like that. Yeah, so everything's like a learning lesson. So as you're helping these 20-year-olds, I know you mentioned a larger gap than that, but mostly 20, you know, I'm hoping most of them, find this as a great opportunity to transition from where they are today to where they want to be, or not even know where they want to be, but at least start the journey to get there. So how does go ahead? Yeah, have something to say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, how does somebody, reach out to you and start connecting with you to work with you?
Yeah, I would say if you're ready to go from the traumas that happened in your life to finding your purpose and living in it, definitely reach out. The best way to reach out is going to my link tree. It's linktree slash Rebekah Hope. But if that is too challenging to find, I also have a website called RebekahHope.org, RebekahHope.org. And I'm also on social media under Rebekah Hope or Divine Hope Community. We have a private Facebook page that is called Divine Hope Community. I encourage you to join that, and if you do, you will see a lot of really like next steps. We do weekly Facebook Lives where I teach on just some tools that can help you if you're not ready to do one on one coaching with me. That will be a free resource to you, maybe a place for you to get started, because I very much want to make this available to anyone, regardless of whether they can pay or not. So the free Facebook group is kind of my way of supplementing for those who cannot afford to do the one-on-one coaching with me. And in that group, you're going to see, the book that I just published, the poetry book. And I also published a book back in 2019 called Beyond the Brokenness. And you'll see a way, if you want to schedule a call with me to go over what coaching would look like. All of that information will be in the Facebook group where you can see it. Or, you can always message me directly on Facebook if you choose to do it that way. Whatever is the easiest for you. And for my not so techie friends, and again, I grew up Amish, so I'm kind of speaking to that. If you don't have social media, or if you're hearing this anywhere that the only access you have is email, you can email me at rebecca.divinehope@gmail.com. It's REBEKAH.DIVINEHOPE@gmail.com. So that is kind of the summary of if you want to reach out, how you can find me. If you're on social media, it is super easy to find me. My books are on Amazon, or you can order them directly from me and get them signed, all that good stuff. So
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and I encourage whoever's listening or watching to definitely reach out to Rebekah if they need help, or if they need, or they know somebody they know that needs help. Definitely make that connection. I know Rebekah as a person, and I know she's always there to help these women. She's definitely here for the long run. I know that for sure. Uh, Rebekah, I know that you were already a guest, so I'm not going to ask you the same question. So I'm going to start with just this one question of, what is your number one value in life?
what is my number one value in life? I would say is becoming the love that I see the world needs every single day, whether it's good or bad, whether I am feeling like getting up in the morning or not. The number one thing I keep going back to is, how can I become the love this world needs, instead of going out there and trying to find it so that I can have it. If I become it, I will never lack it, and I will be able to endlessly give it to others. And I don't think you have to look very far to know that this world is very much depleted of love, true love.
Great. Awesome. You're doing great. Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything. And, your Divine Hope, I know it's it's a great group, right? So all these women can come together, talk to each other. And yeah, so reach out to Rebekah, and thank you. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.